It begins in a quiet room, with a book that should not exist. Not a glowing relic in a crystal case, not a dramatic artifact pulled from a lost temple, just a small, old volume, bound in plain vellum, its colors faded by centuries of light and air. At first glance, it looks almost disappointingly ordinary. But the moment you open it, nothing is ordinary anymore. Strange plants twist across the pages, plants that no botanist on Earth has ever been able to identify. Their roots curl in impossible ways, their leaves grow in patterns that don't match any known species. Some look almost familiar, until you realize something is always just slightly wrong. There are stars and circles, charts that resemble zodiac wheels, yet don't quite match our sky. Tiny naked figures bathe in green-blue pools, linked by bizarre tubes, like an otherworldly plumbing system. Some pages are dense with text. Others feel like maps to a world no one has visited. And in between all those images, line after line of writing flows from left to right in a script unlike any other. Elegant, consistent, carefully drawn. A language with rules, with rhythm, with structure. But no one can read it. This is the Voynich Manuscript, a book that defies our understanding of language, history, and maybe even common sense. A manuscript written in a code no one has broken, in a language no one speaks, about a world no one can fully recognize. Our story, at least the modern part of it, begins in 1912. A Polish-Lithuanian book dealer named Wilfrid Voynich visits a Jesuit college near Rome. He is already used to old books, rare manuscripts, forgotten pages. It is his job to find them, to buy them, to move them from dusty shelves into private collections and libraries. But that day, when he opens a simple chest containing a bundle of old volumes, one of them stops him cold. A small, handwritten book, about 23 by 16 centimeters, vellum pages, mysterious drawings, a script he does not recognize. He flips through the leaves and feels something that experienced collectors rarely feel: genuine shock. He knows Latin, Italian, French, German, several other European languages. He has seen medieval shorthand, obscure calligraphy, personal ciphers. But this is something else. He buys the manuscript. Years later, this unknown book will bear his name, the Voynich Manuscript. But Wilfrid isn't trying to become a legend. He has a simpler goal: to solve the mystery, to decode the writing, to identify the author, and of course, to prove that this strange book is valuable, uniquely valuable. He takes it to experts, historians, linguists, cryptographers. Some are stunned, some are amused, some secretly are afraid of it. No one can read a single word. And so the questions begin. Is this an ancient cipher hiding forbidden knowledge? Is it the work of a genius or the most elaborate hoax in the history of books? Is it a message from the distant past or from somewhere else entirely? Tonight, you and I are going to walk through the mystery of the Voynich Manuscript. We will follow its journey through time, meet the minds who tried to break it, and explore the theories that stretch from cold science to the edges of the unexplained. Because sometimes, the most unsettling thing is not what we know. It's the fact that a book can sit in our hands, page after page, and still refuse to speak.
To understand the mystery, we have to step back, far beyond 1912. Modern science has dated the parchment of the Voynich Manuscript to the early 1400s, somewhere between 1404 and 1438. That alone is important. Whatever this is, it is not a recent fabrication. The animal skin is medieval, old enough to have watched empires rise and fall. But parchment is only the canvas. It tells us when the pages were prepared, not when the ink was laid down. So we look at the script. The writing is careful, smooth, almost hypnotic. Whoever wrote it had practiced this alphabet for a long time. The characters repeat in patterns that feel almost like words. There are spaces, ligatures, repeated clusters. It doesn't look like random scribbles. It looks like language. Yet it matches no known alphabet. Not Latin, not Greek, not Hebrew or Arabic or Cyrillic. Not any known shorthand or medieval cipher alphabet. It is its own system, coherent, consistent, and utterly alien. The illustrations suggest that the book is divided into sections. On many pages, there are large, bizarre plants, as if from a herbal book, the so-called herbal section. On others, star-like diagrams and zodiac-like wheels, the astronomical section. There are dense arrays of small, naked women in strange baths and tubes, the balneological or biological section. Later, pages that look like recipes or lists, tiny paragraphs like instructions. If this is a hoax, it is an obsessively detailed one. But even before Voynich, the manuscript had already traveled through the hands of powerful and curious men. In the late 16th or early 17th century, it appears to have belonged to Emperor Rudolf II of the Holy Roman Empire, a ruler fascinated by alchemy, astrology, and the occult. Rumor claims he bought it for a large sum of money, believing it had been written by the English friar and polymath Roger Bacon, who lived in the 13th century and was famous for his studies in optics, mathematics, and experimental science. Was this true? We don't know, but the rumor persisted. The manuscript later appears in the hands of Jörg Barisch, a Prague-based scholar who complains in letters that he owns a mysterious book written in an unknown script that no one can read. He sends samples of the writing to a Jesuit scholar, Athanasius Kircher, in Rome, hoping for help. Kircher, known for claiming to have deciphered Egyptian hieroglyphics, is intrigued and apparently asks to see the book. Eventually, the manuscript ends up in the Jesuit college near Rome, where it will wait quietly, century after century, until Wilfrid Voynich opens that chest. By then, the world has changed. Cryptography has evolved from simple substitution ciphers to complex systems used by governments and militaries. Linguistics has become a science. Scholars believe that with enough effort, no code can remain unbroken forever. The Voynich manuscript challenges that belief. Experts examine it. Some declare it a genuine cipher, encoding an unknown language or a known language with a sophisticated system. Others suspect it might be glossolalia, invented text, or an elaborate con designed to impress a wealthy patron centuries ago. After all, if you were an alchemist wanting to impress an emperor, what better way than to create a secret book in an unknown script? The problem is both options, real language or hoax, are disturbing. If it's real, it means someone 600 years ago created a written language or a cipher system so advanced that even today's experts can't crack it. If it's fake, it means someone invested an enormous amount of time, effort, and consistency into a book that says absolutely nothing. Page after page of carefully controlled nonsense just to create the illusion of meaning. A masterpiece of deception. One possibility makes us question the limits of medieval knowledge. The other makes us question the limits of human obsession. And neither brings us closer to reading even a single sentence.
If any group should have been able to break the Voynich Manuscript, it was the codebreakers of the 20th century. During World War II, cryptanalysts cracked some of the most complex ciphers of their time. They broke military codes that were meant never to be broken. They used statistics, pattern analysis, brute force logic, and ingenuity under pressure. If anyone could look at an old book and say, yes, that's a code, and here's how we solve it, it should have been them. Some of those minds studied the Voynich Manuscript. One of the most famous was William F. Friedman, a legendary American cryptographer who played a crucial role in breaking Japanese codes. He and his team looked at the manuscript's text, searching for patterns that could hint at substitution, transposition, or something more exotic. They found something strange. The distribution of the words in the Voynich Manuscript follows patterns that resemble real human languages. The length and frequency of words, the way certain symbols cluster together, the statistical structure, all of it looks on the surface like a natural language, not like random text, not like a simple substitution of Latin letters into strange symbols. In fact, if you look only at the numbers, the manuscript behaves a lot like a real language. And yet, no known language fits. The characters do not map cleanly onto any alphabet. The patterns do not match Latin, German, Italian, Czech, or any other European tongue of the time. They do not match known ciphers from the era either. It's as if someone invented both the language and the alphabet from scratch, and then never used it anywhere else in history. Some researchers suggested that the manuscript might be an example of a constructed language, a kind of private Esperanto centuries before its time. Others proposed that the text could be heavily compressed, using complex rules, abbreviations, and contractions. Still others believed it might be an enciphered version of an existing language, but with multiple layers of transformation. Friedman and his team worked for years. In the end, they admitted defeat. They could not prove it was a hoax. They could not prove it was a real language. They could not read a single word. The mystery deepened. Linguists studied the text and noticed other oddities. Certain symbols appear more often at the beginning or end of words. Some words show up only in specific sections of the book. The grammar of the Voynich script, the way the symbols combine, is consistent enough to seem real, but flexible enough to resist easy decoding. It feels as if the manuscript is always one step ahead of the analyst. When they try to treat it like a natural language, it behaves like a cipher. When they treat it like a cipher, it behaves like a natural language. When they assume it's a hoax, its stubborn structure refuses to collapse into nonsense. Meanwhile, the illustrations refuse to give any clear answers. If the plants were all purely imaginary, we could say it's a fantasy. If they were all recognizable, we could say it's a mislabeled herbal. Instead, many appear almost familiar, as if someone took pieces of real plants and rearranged them into hybrids. Roots from one species, leaves from another, flowers from a third. Real fragments combined into unreal wholes. If you wanted to hide real botanical knowledge, why distort the plants? If you wanted to fake an herbal book, why make the plants so strange? The astronomical pages show constellations and zodiac signs, Pisces, Sagittarius, Virgo, but the way they are drawn and connected is ambiguous, almost like an echo of systems we know rather than a direct copy. The bathing women form networks of human figures inside flowing pipe-like structures. Are these metaphors for bodily fluids? Diagrams of spiritual purification? Something else entirely? Every attempt to interpret the images becomes a mirror. Alchemists see alchemy. Herbalists see experimental botany. Medical historians see proto-gynecology. Mystics see secret esoteric knowledge. The manuscript seems to adapt to whoever is looking at it. And that might be the most unsettling part of all.
In the 21st century, the Voynich Manuscript met a new kind of mind. Not just human experts, but machines. High-resolution digital scans of the manuscript were made available online. Suddenly, anyone in the world could zoom into the pages and study every brushstroke. Cryptographers, linguists, hobbyists, conspiracy theorists, and computer scientists all joined the hunt. Some tried classic methods with modern tools: frequency analysis, pattern recognition, algorithmic testing of possible substitutions. Others trained AI models to look for hidden structure or to compare the Voynich script to thousands of known languages and writing systems. Occasionally, a headline appears: "Researcher claims to have finally solved the Voynich manuscript." One paper says it's a form of encoded Latin. Another argues it's written in a dialect of Old Czech. Someone else claims it's based on a forgotten Romance language. Another suggests it's related to Nahuatl, the language once spoken by the Aztecs. Each solution produces a few translations that seem convincing on the surface. But when experts look closer, the cracks appear. The claimed decoding methods are often inconsistent. Certain rules are quietly ignored when they don't fit. The translations tend to be vague, repetitive, or conveniently match what we already assume from the images, and even then, they fail to work across the whole book. No proposed solution has been widely accepted, not one. Meanwhile, some computer-based studies reveal that the text has a curious internal structure. Certain words appear more frequently near certain others. The text in some sections seems to obey slightly different rules than in others, almost like dialects or topic-specific jargon. One unsettling possibility emerges. The text might be generated by an algorithmic process, something like a medieval proto-algorithm where rules define how to build words from parts. That doesn't mean it's meaningless. It could still encode something real, but it opens the door to a more radical idea. What if the Voynich manuscript is technically structured like a language, but contains no real content? What if someone, 5 or 6 centuries ago, invented a method for generating fake language, consistent, patterned, rule-based, without any underlying meaning? They wouldn't need to generate random scribbles. They could follow simple formulas, producing something that feels real, but says nothing. If that's true, then even our most advanced tools might be chasing a mirage. And yet, the images keep drawing us back. The women in the bathing pools. Are they symbolic? Alchemical representations of humors and elements? Early diagrams of female anatomy? Or purely imaginative? The tubes and channels connecting them, are they veins, lymphatic pathways, underground rivers, or something from a worldview we no longer share? The pharmaceutical section shows bottles and jars, some resembling real medieval containers. Lines connect them to plants, as if showing a recipe. Roots here, leaves there, distill this, boil that. It looks like medicine, or magic, or both. Page after page, we see fragments of familiarity wrapped in a visual language we don't fully understand. Some people argue that we're overcomplicating it, that the book is probably just a herbal and medical manual from an unknown region or culture, written in a heavily abbreviated script, and our fascination turns it into something more mysterious than it really is. Others say the opposite.
They believe the manuscript holds lost knowledge, hidden deliberately from prying eyes, a secret language for a secret order, a guide to medicine, astrology, or spiritual transformation, encrypted not only in text, but in images that only insiders could truly decode. Between these extremes lies a simple, stubborn truth. We still don't know. And the more tools we throw at the manuscript, the more it pushes back, refusing to collapse into a simple explanation.
In the end, the Voynich Manuscript might be less about what it says and more about what it does to us. Picture the scene. A researcher sits alone at night, the glow of a screen lighting their face. On the monitor, page after page of the manuscript, zoomed in so far you can see individual cracks in the ink. They trace each letter with their eyes, trying to feel the mind of the person who wrote it centuries ago. Who were they? A monk in a quiet scriptorium obeying the orders of a secretive master? An independent scholar, convinced they were preserving precious knowledge? An alchemist mixing science and mysticism, encoding recipes and visions? An artist of deception, delighting in the creation of a puzzle with no solution? We don't even know if the author believed they were writing something important, or if they simply believed they were writing something convincing. Humans do not like unsolved mysteries, especially not when all the pieces seem to be in front of us. We have the pages, we have the ink, we can count the characters, measure their frequency, map their positions. We can scan the book, digitize it, send it across the world in seconds. We keep thinking there must be a key somewhere. Maybe a lost companion volume that explains the cipher. Maybe a letter still hidden in some forgotten archive that casually mentions the strange book and its method. Maybe the author left a clue in another text we haven't connected yet. Until we find that key, if it even exists, the Voynich Manuscript sits in a strange place. It is both familiar and alien, concrete and elusive, an object we can touch, and a meaning we can't. We build theories because we can't stand the silence. Some say it's an early attempt at artificial language, a secret tongue for a small community never meant to be understood by outsiders. Others say it's a spiritual text, intentionally obscured, where the act of deciphering was meant to be part of the spiritual journey itself. Some imagine a lonely mind in the Middle Ages inventing an entire alphabet and world to escape the limitations of their reality. A private universe, bound in vellum, never truly intended for our eyes. And then there is the simplest, coldest possibility, that the Voynich Manuscript is an empty masterpiece, a beautiful shell with no pearl inside, a code with no message. If that is true, then the real content of the book is not what's written on its pages, but what grows inside the minds of those who try to read it. Every attempt to decode it becomes a reflection of our fears and hopes, a mirror of our belief that everything must have a solution, that all mysteries are just problems we haven't solved yet. But what if some mysteries are more powerful, unsolved? What if the Voynich Manuscript has survived this long precisely because it refuses to give us an answer? Because in a world that constantly demands explanations, it still whispers, "You don't know, and maybe you never will." Even so, we keep trying. We zoom in, we reanalyze, we feed the text into new models. We argue, publish, debate, and dream. The manuscript sits in a secure room, but its image travels everywhere, haunting those who glimpse it for just a second too long. Maybe one day someone will find that missing key. Maybe the script will suddenly open and the pages will reveal something mundane, or something profound, or something utterly unexpected. Or maybe it will never happen, and the book will continue to stare back at us with ink that has survived wars, plagues, revolutions, and the rise and fall of empires, waiting for a reader who may never come. Until then, the Voynich Manuscript remains what it has been for centuries. A voice that moves its lips with no sound we can hear. If you enjoyed walking through this mystery, don't forget to subscribe to Hidden Myst. Leave a like, share this video with someone who loves unsolved stories, and tell me in the comments, what do you believe the Voynich Manuscript really is? A coded treasure? A spiritual riddle? Or the most brilliant hoax in history? Thank you for watching, and stay curious.